Intro.
It is 1963 when these happened. Doris and Boris married each other that year, and the next year something interesting happened one night. Well, you guys know what happened between each other. 9 months later their first kid has been born.
Doris, this is our best day ever. You finally gave birth to our first kid and he is here. Look at how cute he is.
I agree, Boris. Our newborn kid is indeed very cute. How should we name him?
I think I found the perfect name for him. He should be called Boris.
All right then, he will be Boris.
Then they both got home from the hospital a week after Boris was born. Now let's travel a few years forward in the time.
Looks like we both watched the new Formula 1 season.
I love Formula 1 as it's very entertaining. I hear our son coming downstairs. I wonder what he has to tell us.
Mom and Dad, I decided that I want to be an electrician when I grow up.
An electrician? Do you know that's a dangerous job?
Don't worry, Daddy. I am a hard-working student in school, and it means if I study hard enough then eventually I will reach my goal, being an electrician. I love electrics.
Yes, we know that you're extremely hardworking as a student. I hope you will reach your goals eventually. Being an electrician is the well-paid and a very useful profession.
I will do my best as always. I will never stop pursuing my dreams.
That's the spirit, young boy. I love this mentality of yours.
Boris was an excellent student in school and eventually graduated a decade later, and 5 years of university afterwards he became an electrician. Since then lots of things changed in electricity and he quickly adapted to the changes. But he developed a strange addiction. After his parents died by electric cord shocking them, grounding became a necessary safety measure in electricity, and Boris' favorite part was this. Back then when grounding didn't exist, the electric networks weren't as safe as now. The reason why grounding is so essential is because it reduces death caused by faulty cords or other sorts of electric shock. Boris' addiction was to ground the electric networks he built to make it safer, and he always did excellent jobs. He was praised by everyone in the city. 4 years later Boris met Doris and they dated each other. And eventually at marriage they were pronounced husband and wife. Wanna see a footage where Boris and Doris date each other? Let's see together.
So Boris, tell me, how did you become an electrician in the first place?
It all started when I was a little kid. I was interested in electricity in those times. Now it's so great that we have a safety measure called grounding.
But I suppose back then there was no such safety measure as grounding. So tell me, what other motivations did you have back then?
Well, you see that I was a hard-working student, the best in my school, and since my interest in electricity grew bigger every single year, one decided to study as an electrician.
It sounds great. And what was your final result at graduation?
I achieved a whopping 98% graduation score, and after a month I found a job. The year was 1993. Then electricians all over the world developed a safety measure called grounding.
And why exactly is it called grounding?
Because the main source of death related before was the stray current, and grounding, if done properly, drives the stray current to the ground. And now since we have grounding, now those who experience electrocution will only feel a small pinch-like experience instead of death, as the stray current is driven to the ground.
Wow. So this is why it's called grounding. I get it now.
Boris prioritized safety first, so he got addicted to grounding. And since it's necessary nowadays, he felt like a master when he refurbished early electrical networks. By early I mean those who were made prior to grounding being prevalent. After Boris married Doris they had 2 kids. And their names are Kaylu and Rosie. It is Rosie actually, but I don't care, because the Rosie is a hilarious pronunciation.
That connector has to be refurbished, I see.
Boris, my love. What are you checking?
That socket behind me has to be replaced. There is no grounding pin inside, and it can be quite dangerous to use.
Come on, darling, we both use that socket for some times.
Yes, but I haven't realized how dangerous it can be to use a socket without a grounding pin being present.
Daddy, can I go to Chuck E. Cheese's?
Yeah, but make sure to get home before 10 p.m. or you will be grounded.
I will be home at 10 p.m. I promise.
Good.
Why did you threaten Kayla with a grounding?
Probably because I like grounding. Come on, grounding is a safety measure after all, isn't it?
You have a point there, but Kayla isn't an electrical appliance, so don't threaten him with grounding again.
Fine, I guess you are right, my love.
Boris, this hug was so cute. Thanks for hugging me, my love.
No problem, darling, and I will go to the electrical store and buy a new socket to this kitchen.
Alright, goodbye, Boris.
And after that, Boris checked the local electricity store for a socket and bought it. After that, he replaced the old socket with the new one. And Kayla didn't get home from Chuck E. Cheese's at 10 p.m., so Boris thought it would be a good idea to ground him despite his wife told him not to do.
It is so late, almost 11 p.m., and Kayla didn't get home yet.
I am sure he will get home today. Good night, sweetie. I will sleep as I'm tired already.
Good night, dear. I wonder why Kayla isn't home yet. That must be Kayla.
Good night, Dad. I spent too much time with my friends. I became sleepy.
Kayla, it is 11 p.m. now. I said you better be home at 10 p.m., and for this you're grounded. Now go to your room.
Fine.
Now let's head over Kayla's room. Kayla is so sleepy that he already fell asleep as soon as he arrived at his room and entered the bed. Good night, Kayla, Boris and Doris. And ladies and gentlemen, this is how Boris' addiction of grounding turned out to be. Hope you enjoyed the story. Goodbye.